friends, and welcome to Screen Vomit, the only movie podcast for normal people. I'm, of course, your normal host, Kayla, and here with me, of course, I have a guest. My guest today is a filmmaker, director, a shorts king, some might say. Don't tell him, may have talked about some of his shorts on pod before. This man, at least a couple times, also an actor. This will be my guest, Adam Murray.
Hi, hello. Ooh, actor. Ooh. No.
At least a couple times. You've dabbled.
In order, it was done. Those have been done in order to save money. That is really the main reason for any kind of acting appearance on my end is to save money in some way, shape, or form.
By not paying an actor.
By not paying an actor.
Yeah, but you popped up here or there in other people's things.
Yes.
Yes or no?
Yes, correct. For a time when I first moved out to Los Angeles, I was working a lot in sketch comedy. Mm-hmm. I was doing a lot of writing and was running a YouTube channel that was doing a sketch a month. That got a decent following in the Los Angeles sketch community because we were just using different stand-ups and sketch friends that I knew from around there, but then never really...
Were you performing this or just writing?
Performing as well. But so I was performing sketch in these videos, and I'm talking way too much about something that doesn't exist anymore, cannot be found online.
No, keep talking.
Well, so when
Wait, you took it down? You erased the records?
Yeah, I took him down. I mean, I'm not...
Were you embarrassed?
I'm a little embarrassed, and not because of any... And
You're generally embarrassed of everything you create.
I really am. I kind of hate watching my own stuff, and the fact that I was editing videos I was acting in is... I was a different person in 2014, apparently.
Yeah.
Way different person. But, like, I took it down, not because, like, any of the stuff that I wrote was, like, didn't age well or, like, didn't think it was funny. It was just my pure embarrassment over being in them.
Being alive?
and people seeing those. I started doing more, started stepping away from comedy a bit more and doing my own longer form shorts that were a little bit more serious, which I am not a serious person.
Well, prove it.
That's... as a guy who makes a lot of real bummer shorts and projects, it was the fact of having it up there. Like, man, if you see these, I'm just like, oh, I'm gonna just drive off a bridge right now.
You hate to have an older version of you be perceived.
Yes.
In general.
Oh yeah. Oh yes.
As a person with a podcast, wherein a couple years of me, spilling my beans about my entire life, is perceivable by people. It's findable. I relate. I did archive our first 20 episodes, so don't tell anyone. They're scratched.
Is this gonna get cut out, or is this just gonna be for people to try and find it now?
Well, time will tell.
Yep.
Hack me, baby, because they technically are still online. They're just private, so.
But yeah, so that was...
That's your journey.
Yeah, I've been directing my own stuff in my downtime when I'm not broke. My more serious stuff, I guess, since 2015. I say more serious being it's stuff that wasn't explicitly sketch comedy that lived in like 3 to 5 minute chunks of video.
So what gets you to make that first short film? Was that Joe?
That was Joe and the Pirates, yeah. That was kind of an idea that had been sitting in my head since like the end of college, probably like 2011, 2012. Just was sitting in my head, and then I was like, yeah, let's make a proof of concept and see how it goes. And it was kind of my first real undertaking as putting together and directing and producing and also writing. And
acting? Are you in that?
I'm in that at the very end, which was I was burning through so much money, and then I was like, we're gonna save $250 and put me in this.
Yeah.
But it was my first time something that big with that many people, and like it wasn't just like friends of mine who were comedians who knew how to like act decently. It was like I went out, like auditioned people, like pulled in other actors who I didn't know, like we were strangers, and dealing with that and getting shooting permits and finding locations and then building a set and realizing I should
You went hard on that one.
It went way too hard for like a first like real big for a first like kind of earnest short. I think it shows.
No, I feel like that's how you do it. If you think you're only going to have one chance, maybe you go big, you go hard.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. And I mean, there's parts of it that I can look at today, and that is one that I do not revisit at all. Very rarely revisit anything that I make.
I know, you're so funny. Every time I've watched your stuff, you're like, sorry. I'm sorry that my shorts are terrible.
It's a constant thing I live with constantly. And I would say Gabby, which is my most recent one from the end of 2019, is the one that I've gone back and rewatched the most, which is very sparingly still, probably because we've had such a good run with it during festival season that it's something that you have memories attached to it. I have memories attached to it, and it's just from sending it to people and sending it to like other websites and all that. Sorry, my dog is sitting on the remote control of the television.
Dog wants to watch TV.
Stop that.
My cat, actually, I got a really cute video of, it's my roommate's cat, watching The Boy in the Plaid Shirt. Is that what it's called?
Oh, to the boy in the plaid shirt, yeah.
Yeah.
That one I haven't revisited in a minute. I'm told by people who watched it they like it, which is great to hear.
Yeah, no, I love it.
That was a weird one. That one's weird because it took me forever to edit.
Really?
Myself and Megan, the lead actress, Megan Rosati, who's one of the filmmakers behind Fatal Collective, and she's a tremendous writer and actress and creator. We were both going through weird emotional stuff at that time, and I was kind of still dealing with it post-shooting it. So, like, post-production, the editing took forever, and it was mainly because the scene when Nate Logue, who plays the titular boy in the plaid shirt, is crawling across the floor, and Megan comes up behind him, and you've seen...
Yes.
I had to paint out a prosthetic-related thing that was hanging in the background, and it was around for a lot of that shot, so I had to go through and digitally paint and rotoscope out parts of it, and that just took forever, and it was kind of dragging, and it was just a pain in the ass to do. And then I finally was like, you know what, let's just get it done, and I'll go back to that one was done. It was done at a weird time, and I was also experimenting. I was like, let me do next to zero dialogue.
Yes.
Which I think there's maybe 4 lines that are said at all through that entire 8 minutes, however it goes. Because I did that, and then before that was Regional Heat, which was another experiment, which was experimenting with like a one-take wrestling scene and just seeing how. So I was doing a lot of weird experiments that costed too much money out of my own pocket. But so then after I did To the Boy in the Plaid Shirt, after that was done, I was kind of in a position where I was like, what do I want to do next? Like, what do I want to do? Like, I was like, I should work on like one new short, put it out there, see how it does festival-wise, and like kind of refocus and work towards making a feature and like are getting representation as well, which is a mystery to how that's done. Every friend I've talked to as a manager has just been like, I just knew someone. So if anyone listening to this is a manager, hi, please.
If my podcast gets you a manager, that'd be really sick.
That'd be amazing. I'd be so happy.
I have a lot of filmmakers that follow. Managers, I don't know. Maybe.
It's a weird, confusing thing to figure out that apparently nobody who works in the industry, at least friends of mine who have them, don't know how it happened. So it's constantly confusing. But after I finished Plaid Shirt, I was like, I'll do one more, focus on getting a feature. And then I was like, well, I love dark comedy. I love comedy. I mean, it's probably my first favorite. I mean, just in terms of mediums that film, like definitely top 3 for sure. And I was like, well, what about this idea for like a really well directed, well shot sketch? And I kind of wrote up a rough idea of what it could be. And then I sent it to my friend Alexis Questerano, who is the writer of Gabby. And I pitched her the story. I was like, would you want to come in and like take over lead on this? And so we worked on the story together, and she worked on the script, and she took it and ran, and then we ended up making Gabby, which turned out to be pretty popular. We had a premiere at Chattanooga Film Festival, and it was all set up where I was like, I'm going to do this short, I'm going to get ready to go back out there and try and find some stuff and figure things out. Gets into Chattanooga, gets into a couple other festivals, and then lockdown happens, and 2020 happens, and everything's kind of thrown into the air. So
that's where we're at now.
That's where we're at now. And thankfully we're still waiting to hear back on a few others from the end of the year, which hopefully, fingers crossed, vaccination-wise, we'll be able to travel and go to them if we get in.
Nice.
Because I would love to go like out towards the end of the year for something like that. It was a weird balance because with festivals, if your short gets in or your film gets in, you have the opportunity to go there and get to network and talk with people and find representation or find like other actors to
Sure.
work with or find someone who maybe has an idea and you can
People to collab with. Yeah.
to collab with. And the flip side of that is with digital, like you're still meeting some new people, but you're not really doing a lot of networking. But a lot more people, I believe, are seeing your short, because if you buy a ticket for like a digital festival for 3 days or whatever, you can go through and pick and choose what you want to see. And instead of like a real festival, it's like, well, I'm going to go to the shorts block, sit down, and then it's like maybe they don't go to the next one and they miss yours.
True. And also, like, just from personal experience over pandemic, like, I attended several digital festivals that, like, I would never have been able to go to, that are, like, wherever USA. Like,
oh, yeah.
And I kind of hope moving forward that maybe they continue with, like, a
hybrid model of the two.
Yeah.
I mean,
that'd be sick.
I think that hopefully will continue, because I think a lot of festivals like Chattanooga just happened again.
Yeah, I did go to Chattanooga.
I think Chattanooga is where we saw the movie we're talking about today. Or it might have been Nightstream, which is also happening again. But I don't see the benefits in not having X amount of digital tickets for festivals put out there, because it's like, if you're in a certain part of the country and you want to go see this movie that's premiering here, it's like the technology's there where it's not going to get stolen. But now I just finishing up a music video, and I rewatched Mandibules literally, I think, 10 minutes before I logged on to talk with you.
Yeah, I love this. Okay, yeah, so should we get to the movie?
Stop talking about me.
Okay, so yeah, let's just dive into the movie that we picked for today, which is the 2021 French film Mandibules, which is a Quentin Dupieux movie, written and directed by, of course, Quentin Dupieux. I want to know, well, first of all, I want to know why you picked this movie in particular, but I also want to know, what is your Quentin Dupieux, like, experience? Have you seen a lot of his movies? Are you a big fan, etc.?
I'm a huge fan.
Hell yeah.
Rubber was absolutely the first thing to cross my radar that was his.
Yeah.
Because it was one of those...
For most people, I think.
For most people. Because it was on Netflix for a short amount of time, I think, too. Like, early on when Netflix had, like, only streaming, they're like, you gotta watch this movie about a tire that, like, blows people's heads up.
Yeah.
And I was like...
It was huge. At that time, it was like, the buzz was palpable.
Yeah. Which is kind of still seen, because, like, if you look at trailers for his stuff that's coming out in America, because I know very little about the French filmmaking landscape. I know what directors I like, and I know, like, what actors I like, but I don't know a ton. But in terms of, like, knowledge of, like, popularity and who works with who and all these kind of, like, I don't have a great grasp on that, as much as I do with, like, American cinema or even, like, South Korean cinema in a way.
Sure.
But whenever Dupieux puts out a movie in America, the American trailer always includes, like, from the guy who made Rubber, that movie about the tire. Yeah. Like, it's always kind of included, at least in his past two, because I think it's in the trailer for Deerskin as well, his movie before this.
And now Deerskin's become also, I think, a big hit for him as well.
Because I think it's on HBO Max, which is...
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, it is, actually. Yeah.
Which... Yeah, Rubber was definitely the first one to cross my path. And then I think Wrong, which is one with Jack Plotnick, and was the next one. And that one kind of locked me in.
Wrong is my favorite. I love it so much.
It's good. It's very good and sad. Jack Plotnick, who I think should work way more, is a great weird character actor. And then Wrong Cops, I kind of was not my favorite, and then, like, I came back around with Deerskin recently. I was like, oh, this rules, like, I love this. Yeah, and then Mandibules I watched last year, and I was like, this is absolutely this might be my favorite of his. Ooh. It's a toss up between that and Deerskin, because the thing I love, the reason why I picked this movie is my favorite genre of movie is dumb criminal movie. I grew up, my favorite movie growing up was Raising Arizona. Okay, yeah. Big Coen brothers. Like, Coen brothers are my favorite filmmakers, like, hands down. I love, not really a dumb criminal movie, but, like, The Sticky Bandits from Home Alone. Like, anything where it's, or Bottle Rocket even. You love dumb guys. I love dumb guys doing crime who sometimes get away with it, like, kind of in this movie. Yeah. In a weird way. This is also a very low-stakes crime movie. Yes. As it's revealed, especially at the end, what they're up to. Big fan of that. Have you seen Keep an Eye Out? No, I have not. You probably like that one, too. Add it to your list. Yep.
So I actually just our last episode I recorded was just talking about how I just watched through Quentin Dupieux's entire filmography very recently.
Yes, you said you watched this, I think, yesterday.
Well, I rewatched Mandibles because I watched Mandibles like last week. That was my last one. I was kind of going in order, sort of.
Yeah.
Well, that's not true. I wasn't going in order at all, but I was waiting to do Mandibles last. That was the thing, is I wanted to see everything before I saw Mandibles. And I had already seen like some of them. Like I had seen Rubber. I saw Wrong like a couple years ago. I saw Wrong Cops like a year ago. Deerskin last year sometime. So like I had seen a couple of them already and was a big fan. Wrong was my fave. I did feel though that I was kind of always searching to find Wrong again.
Yeah.
and you never quite find it again. But I did go pretty deep. I watched all his short films too, even one that's only available in French. I like had somebody on Reddit translate it into English for me so that I could watch it. And that's like a short film from like, I don't know, 2002 or something like that. Oh, it's exactly 2002. I just looked it up. Wow, I remembered that. But so got pretty psychotic about it, but I've now seen everything he's ever done, which is interesting. But yeah, I mean, it's good shit. I love Quentin Dupieux, and Mandibles had been on my radar for a minute because I've been doing festivals forever. So yeah, I just like randomly a couple weeks ago or something, I was like, I wonder when that's coming out, because it's been like, in my brain for like, I feel like a while.
Yeah.
And then it was like release date, like, wow, it's coming out right now. Sick. So that's kind of what prompted like the urgency of getting through his filmography. But
I think it might be my favorite. And Wrong has this a bit too. And this is a thing that I've tried to explain. My girlfriend is a film journalist, so she's seen a giant amount of movies as well. And I try to explain the feeling, but Mandibles has very big, nice day outside energy.
Oh, yeah.
Which is a weird theme I love and find very comforting in certain movies. And it's a very specific thing where it's just like, the way it has to feel is like, it feels like you can watch that movie in the middle of the day.
Yeah.
And then walk out at like 2 in the afternoon and it's still like a really nice day out. Like it's something that kind of carries your day in, like across. Like if you're like walking around, you go out.
It's got great vibes.
It's got great vibes. If you go out, like have a breakfast on a weekend with some friends and you come home, it's like, oh, you put a movie on and then the movie's done by like 3 and the sun's still out. And you're just like, oh,
yeah.
Like Major League has that for me. My cousin Vinny has that because a lot of that movie takes place during the day and outside. It's whenever people are just going around places on what looks like a really nice day and everything's very light and nice. It's a weird category for me of movies I find incredibly comforting.
I would love to see the Letterboxd list. I would
have to do so much work on it. But let's talk about the movie instead of what films from the 90s I find pleasant. It's slowly turning into the Chris Farley show.
I'm into it.
Do you like Wet Hot American Summer? Yeah, it was cool. Like that. Like that's the energy that I'm bringing. That's what I'm bringing to the table currently.
Okay, yeah. So let's get a little bit into. We haven't even cracked the movie yet. I haven't even cracked the cast.
It's like there's not a lot to explain, but there's also so much to explain about this movie.
All right, so I'm going to crack into the cast here. This is a French movie, so most of these people are just like in French stuff. But there's a couple people who people might know from stuff.
Yep.
Gregoire Ludig was also in Dupieux's movie Keep an Eye Out, which you haven't seen but are going to.
Which I was just looking up. Yes.
It is a dumb criminal movie as well.
Perfect.
And him and David Marseille, who plays the other main guy, are also in a comedy duo called Palma Show. That's cool.
That explains so much about their vibe together.
Yeah,
they work so well together.
They do. They have just great chemistry. I don't know if chemistry is the word, but yeah. I don't want to say vibes forever.
The scene of them explaining the Toro handshake at dinner is like a perfect example
and we'll get to it.
Of how well they work together.
And then we have Romeo Elvis, who plays the girl's brother later in the movie. He is a rocker. And by rocker, I mean he's a rapper and a hip-hop artist. And this is actually his acting debut, so that's
okay.
Cool.
It's not bad.
No. And then Adele...
good luck.
Wow, with the last name. Exarchopoulos? All right.
I think Adele Exarchopoulos, I think.
Ooh, look at you. Okay, took French. She's in Blue's the Warmest Color.
Yeah,
So,
she's got a wild
filmography
going, because she's in Blue's the Warmest Color, which is a fantastic, beautiful movie. She's in this, playing my favorite character in the movie.
Yes, absolutely.
And then she also like pops up in The White Crow, which is that Ralph Fiennes ballet movie about Nusarev's defection out of the Soviet Union, and she plays Clara Saint, who is like one of Nusarev's like friends. But then she was also in this movie called The Racer and the Jailbird, which is a movie I really wanted to fucking like, and it falls apart, which is a bummer. But she's very good at that. She has a very weird filmography, which is, again, this is the thing I don't know.
The girl has range.
She has range. She has incredible range. Everyone in this if I went through and like looked, I'm sure everyone in this cast has incredible range. Like, that's the thing I guess I'm trying to say is it doesn't feel like a lot of French actors are tied to a specific genre. It feels like they kind of float around a lot in between stuff.
Yeah.
At least in French cinema. I mean, the cast is incredible.
No, they're great.
It's a cast of, 7 people, I think, altogether?
Something like that.
9, 10, maybe? It's, I mean...
That's small.
Very small, and there's, people who have one scene, and then they're gone.
Yeah. All right, so critic scores in this movie, just real quick. This has 93% on Rotten Tomatoes, which is incredible. However, when we get to Google users, 67, which is not great. But I feel like I'm not surprised, because if you showed this to a normie, I don't know what they would do with that information.
Yeah. I don't know, because
we see this a lot with art films or anything that's kind of weirdo shit. It's kind of polarizing. Mm-hmm.
I mean, the audience score is 100 as well on Rotten Tomatoes, looking at it now, but that also is people who have a Rotten Tomatoes account and log scores. I was watching it right before, and I was like, you know what? My mom, who's a big comedy person, and introduced me to the Coen Brothers via Raising Arizona and a bunch of other stuff.
Wow. Raising Arizona was my dad's favorite movie.
And my mom loved it, and it played on Comedy Central a ton, and she was like, you should watch this, it's very funny.
Just kind of funny that each of our parents introduced us to that film.
I will forever love that movie.
Yeah.
I was watching, I was like, you know what? I think she would find this funny, and she's got a great sense of humor, but she doesn't watch a lot of foreign films, and I was like, you know what? I feel like, in terms of weirdness, this one is pretty weird, but compared to, Rubber or Wrong, it's not...
Yeah, on the scale of Dupieux, it's not... It's lower on the totem pole. I think this is probably one of the more, palatable movies he's ever done, probably.
I would show this to my mom over Deerskin, where it's this guy has a jacket who, that compels him to kill other people to get rid of their jackets. That's...
Yeah. For sure.
That's a thing I can't sell, where it's these... we should do the synopsis, I guess, because
Yeah. Let's do the synopsis, and then we can really start getting into it. So normally we watch the trailer, but this is in French, so that's not going to do anybody good to have that audio. So Adam's going to read a plot summary, so go for it.
And it's incredibly short. 2 hapless losers discover a giant fly in the trunk of a stolen car and decide to domesticate it in a bizarre get-rich-quick scheme.
Bada bing, bada boom, baby.
It's...
There it is.
When I saw this movie, I went into it completely blind.
Yeah.
During festival season last year, and was immediately on board when the one actor starts talking about his plan for it, and these guys are absolute dum-dums. I'm so on board for whatever's about to happen.
Hell yeah.
And yeah, let's break it down.
Let's get into it. All right. When we open the movie, we have a man sleeping on a beach and a guy looking for him to give him a capital J job, aka a crime job.
Yeah.
But I think we have to kind of talk about this man's character a little bit. Our first...
Yeah, Manu.
One of the main 2 guys. I don't know anybody's names, so...
I know. It's Manu and Jean-Gab are the 2 leads, and then Adele plays Agnes,
all right,
who I love, is my favorite character, and then Cecile is the other one, because they say her name a bunch in the movie. I just also had the benefit of rewatching it right before recording, so...
I'm also famously bad with names. Don't retain them, characters or otherwise. Yeah. So that's kind of a running thing for the podcast too. I generally just come up with some descriptor of a person, and therefore the listeners can figure it out. Mm-hmm. I also find if I'm listening to a movie podcast and they're throwing out a bunch of character names, I'm lost.
Yeah.
So just personally, not great with names. But this dude they find on the beach, he's got real Big Lebowski, the dude type vibes.
It's very Omega slacker kind of vibes. Like that's like he's got shorts on and he's sleeping on the beach, and a good amount of the first chunk of the movie is spent with the two leads talking about how hungry they are. So it's just kind of like,
yeah.
I'm guessing this is in the south of France because everything is right by the beach and it's gorgeous.
Southeast France, yeah.
Absolutely beautiful.
First of all, you can't help but compare this main guy, the first guy that we meet, to Big Lebowski.
No,
I mean, he looks, but Quentin Dupieux himself said he was not inspired by Big Lebowski in any way. What he was actually drawing from was No Country for Old Men. Which I think is incredible.
With Anton Chigurh or for Josh Brolin?
He says not specifically any characters, but just like the look of the film, the fact that they didn't use any music.
Yeah.
And then just like he thought that this type of like dry comedy humor movie with no music is something that he really enjoys, and that was kind of what he was going for. And he also described this as Dumb and Dumber meets E.T. but less stupid.
I'd agree with that completely.
He said these guys are simple, but they're not idiots. They're free, is what he said. They're free guys. Okay, so we've gotten us to, he has a crime job. The job is to get the suitcase, put it in the trunk, and drive it to the place, wherever that place is.
Yeah, a second location.
And get $500 from that.
Yes, which is not a lot of money.
Not that much money. Not enough to do a bunch of crimes.
No.
And yeah, so then he picks up his buddy, who's also like a ditzy guy, at the gas station where he's working. They do a cute gag when he pulls up. He's like kind of hiding his face and then does like, aha, it's me. Like, just very cute.
Yeah.
These two guys, like, I love them. They continue to be super cute just throughout the whole movie. Yeah. I'm obsessed with them.
They have a lovely quasi dirtbag, but mostly just like don't know how to dress aesthetic as well. With like the one guy has like the curliest, ugliest looking mohawk and wears like western shirts with shorts, and the other guy just looks like he sleeps under a boardwalk in a beach town. Like it's
he does.
Yes,
he's homeless, famously.
Yeah, literally sleeps on the beach.
They also have the cute handshake.
Yeah.
Not really a handshake, but they call it the Toro. And it's doing rock hands and linking them together. It's so cute. I love it.
Double horns and you link them together and just go Toro.
I want to Toro everybody.
Which their explanation later is fantastic too, of how it came to be.
Also, Quentin Dupieux said that he got that from his 5-year-old daughter.
Aww.
So, I just thought that's cute. So they take off in this car together to do the crime. They're going to pick up the suitcase. But when they're in the car, they start hearing noises in the trunk. So they gotta pull over and investigate. And what they find in the trunk is just a gigantic fly. Huge.
Like the size of a dog. Like the size of a medium-sized dog.
Like a pretty big dog.
Yeah. like a bulldog-sized fly.
Yeah, that's a good descriptor. And that image of this fly in the trunk was actually the first idea Quentin Dupieux had for this movie. He had this image of this fly in a trunk surrounded by garbage. And he kind of built the rest of the movie around that image that was in his mind, which I think is incredible. I also love in his movies, even before anything weird has happened, it's kind of, he sets up a world that feels like something weird could happen and no one would care. Like nothing is weird, everything is normal, which is kind of my life motto. The motto of this podcast, even. It's
a very fun kind of environment where, I mean, you get it in Deerskin and it's in Wrong as well, where it's like you're living with these characters or you're living in the same world as these characters, and then every now and again you get a glimpse of the normal world that is outside of them, where there is like one or two characters who show up who are normal people and then kind of reflect them even more as like being fucking weirdos. It's a thing that I think Venture Brothers, the cartoon, does very well as well, where it's like you're in this world with these characters who are adventurers and have super science, but then there's also then like the regular male guy who shows up to deliver something, and it's like steps into this world for a minute and then like leaves it again, just like kind of increases the weirdness of these people.
But also at the same time doesn't really address their weirdness.
Never.
Just kind of exists alongside them.
Yeah.
It's never like, what the fuck are these weird guys doing?
Never.
It's just like, well, okay, there's a guy, you know, and just like keep going.
Which is like such,
and that I love.
Which is like literally our everyday situation. We touch on that in our real lives. We don't know how often it happens where you go and you deliver something like a package I could deliver to your place by mistake, and the apartment's down the street, and you step into like a weird, like a brand new person who's got a whole bunch of weird shit going on, and you're just like, you take it all in, and you're like, well, I have so many questions about what's going on here that I've just witnessed, but I'm not going to bring it up or talk about it. I'm just going to go on with my life because
to each their own.
To each their own, and like there's weird shit happening around us at all times. There's just every now and again we stumble across it and then we leave it again.
Yeah, and his worlds are always set up for that, and I love that about them too.
Yes.
Like anything can happen, nothing is weird though. Even when they find this gigantic fly that does not exist in real world, right? They're kind of just like, is that a fly? Oh man, now we can't use the trunk to do our crimes. Like they're like not even bothered by the fly at all. They're upset because they don't have the use of the trunk.
They can't use the trunk, and then Jean-Gab's first like knee-jerk reaction is, what if we don't deliver? Well, if we don't go get this suitcase, we stay here and train this fly, and then that'll be our way to make money, is having a giant trained fly, which is like
who can then go rob banks or rob food for us. Yeah,
and it's like the biggest leap from like A to like fucking H in the alphabet, like of like mind thought. It's just like, we're here, all right, we have a giant fly. What's next? We train it to rob things and make us money. Like
it'll make us more than $500.
Yeah. Which is
sick.
Yeah, and then so they decide to park their car and then kidnap an old man who lives in a trailer in the middle of nowhere and take over his trailer as their training grounds for this giant fly.
Yeah, the rest of the movie kind of becomes them searching for a place to train the fly, trying to train the fly, and also just trying to stay alive, really, in like a crazy comedy of errors for the rest of the movie. I do want to talk about the fly himself for a moment, just because, first of all, I love him.
It's an impressive Dominique. The name of the fly.
Dominique the Fly.
Dominique the Fly.
Looks so cool.
It looks so cool. It's gotta, I'm assuming a lot of it's practical. I'm assuming there is probably some.
The whole thing is actually practical except for the legs.
Okay.
So it is a puppet, actually.
Yeah.
So there's a puppeteer inside with his his arm doing the head and everything. And yeah, the legs were the only CGI. Everything else was practical.
Because for the most part, it doesn't move that much. It's usually shot like either like just sitting or like laying down or whatever. And then there's a part where like you see it like turn on the floor to look at someone and the legs move, and like it's still very good digital like CGI work on it, but it's so fast and so creepy that it feels natural.
I love that they went practical for this.
Yeah.
And Dupieux said that he really wanted practical specifically to have like not only an organic connection between the actors and the fly, but also just because like the type of monster movies he grew up with like have monsters that look like this, you know, that are really real guys.
Really well
and you don't
made.
See that as much anymore.
No, they have well made, well crafted effects and animatronics and puppets that are operated by professionals. I'm a giant Muppets fan. I'm a huge Jim Henson head. And like anytime I see or get to work with a puppet in any sense, I get so excited.
Yeah.
I absolutely love working with puppets. I'm trying to work on another music video soon that involves a ton, but that is one of my, like, because there's always that debate of CGI and VFX and practical, and I mean, you can have the best of both worlds of those, and you can also have one that is heightening the other and vice versa, but it is, like you were saying, when it comes to performing a scene with something, having a physical manifestation of that thing there, something tangible that you can touch, is, I think, unbeatable.
Sure, yeah.
And like the fly in this is very photorealistic and it's very creepy to look at, but I also love it.
But it's also like kind of cute.
Yeah.
When you look at his little face sometimes and he's twisting his head around, you're like, aw.
It has.
Or when he snores.
When it snores or drinks water.
I loved the snoring. The snoring was incredible.
I think it's because it's mostly eyes, so that like makes it more adorable.
Big eyes are classically cute. Yeah. Yeah. Love the fly. They do duct tape his wings down.
They duct tape the wings down so it won't fly away.
Yeah. Poor little fella.
then from there, they kidnap the old man and tie him up outside, and then he offers them his life savings. They let him go.
He claims to have buried money nearby.
He claims to have buried money nearby.
Who knows if that's a real or fake
I love
claim.
there's that one scene where Manu's holding the gun to him in the car, and he hits the speed bump and drops the gun, and there's absolutely no fear in the older man's eyes, like that he's been taken hostage by this guy.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's because he's also playing a dumb guy, or if he just knows that these guys are very dumb, and so he's not really in danger.
I think he knows they're very dumb, just based on like the conversations they've been having around him.
Yes.
Yeah. And that they only have like $20 between the two of them and like need food, and it's a whole thing. Yeah, I think he knows they're dumb. So when he drops the gun, this man just like bolts out of the car and then he's gone.
He's gone. Just runs away.
Which is hilarious, yeah. While he was gone, the other man was tasked with spending that $20 on food for them. And I do think this was something funny that I missed the first time but caught the second so he was riding a unicorn bicycle around to get the food or whatever. At the moment when the man's returning in the car, the guy on the bike does like a sweet skid on the bike.
Yes.
And he does a self-toro.
He skids out and goes, oh, self-toro. And like hits his hands together.
Hell yeah, self-toro.
Hell yeah, self-toro.
I love that so much. That was great.
I love the inclusion of the unicorn bike. It's just there.
Yeah.
It's
just there.
Fun and looks fun and dumb.
Yeah.
In return, he buys a bunch of dog food, right?
I think it was cat food, but yeah, he buys a bunch of cat food, and the guy goes, "Did you only buy cat food?" And he's like, "No, I also bought pills."
Yes.
Because he bought sleeping pills for the fly. But no food for the two of them. No. So then they have to come up with like an alternate solution to getting food for themselves, which is that they take that gun again and force someone else to rob a grocery store for food.
Yes. Car runs out of gas as well.
The car runs out of gas the next day. What happens first is that they light the trailer on fire, cooking the food that they just had someone steal for them, and then again lose all their food.
Yes.
So now they spent all their money, they've burned their trailer down, they have no food again, and so they're kind of relegated to the car, which is the only thing left. But in the morning, they try and take off in the car, and it's out of gas. So truly comedy of errors. So what they do with the car in the morning is that they tie it up to that unicorn bicycle and have one of the guys ride the bicycle to tow the car around.
Which seems physically impossible, but...
Yeah. This is like a child's bicycle, too.
Yeah.
So it's like, it's all levels of impossible.
Pulling it up a hill of like the southeastern French countryside.
Yeah. But a car full of girls pulls over, and one of the girls says that she knows the guy from school. And he knows that he's not the man.
He is very unaware of what is even happening.
Yeah.
The amount of work that her character does, like, explaining everything to this character, and, like, how it's obviously not this person you think it is. And she's a very good foil for all this. She's a very good, I would say she's the straight man of this movie.
Yeah, totally.
And she's fantastic in this role.
Yeah, so he just, like, plays it off like, oh, yeah, our school together.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. So totally, like, pulls it off and ends up being invited back to her house for food.
Yes, to hang out at a beautiful home.
A mansion, practically.
In a mansion.
With a pool.
With a pool that overlooks the ocean in south of France. Like, just gorgeous altogether.
Yeah, and she's a rich girl.
Yes.
They go in her fridge and say it's a rich girl fridge.
They go rich girl fridge, yes. Open the fridge and say rich girl fridge, which is just like a well-stocked fridge, like with food, if you were an adult who like made food at home. They call it a rich girl
fridge, yeah, and they're just eating like sliced ham,
ham off a plate. Then her brother comes in, who is the rapper that we mentioned before. Everyone at the house is pretty low-key and relaxed around these two weirdos, who she thinks one is a friend from high school. So they're hanging out, then they decide to stay. She offers to stay and hang out for a couple days. And then...
the dinner scene we have to talk
about.
The
dinner scene, and then introduces my favorite character, Agnes.
Before we get to Agnes, the dinner scene I loved. That's the first time in the movie that they talk about something being very strange. How I just talked about, normally they introduce all these weird things and it's not addressed.
Yeah.
So the one thing they do pick at this dinner scene is the Toro handshake. Yeah. where he goes, I saw you do something so fucking weird, like so utterly bizarre. I have to know what this was. And it's really like the least weird thing about any of this.
It's literally all it is just you do the devil horns like your rock hands, and you just interlink them with a friend and go Toro. And like it's treated like the most alien concept to everyone at this dinner.
They're asking so many questions about the hands, like, when do you do it? Why do you do it? Why do you call it Toro?
And he's like when you're excited, when you agree on something, when you're happy. It's very much the same kind of I'm from South Jersey, and I lived in Philadelphia for a long time and grew up going to Philly. My dad's from Philadelphia, so I grew up going to that city a lot. There's a word that we use from there called Jawn.
Yeah.
Jawn for anyone who doesn't know. And it's kind of a similar thing where Jawn is a proper noun that can be used for anything.
Yeah.
They describe it in Creed. Tessa Thompson's character in Creed discusses it for a minute, where she's like, it's literally anything. It's like there's shoes, it's a restaurant, it's a party, it's a person you know.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of in the same vein as Toro, or Toro's in the same vein as that, where it's like you literally use it for whatever. But it's more simple than that, because it's literally just a friendly secret handshake.
Yeah, basically. And when he goes, why do you call it Toro? He's like, because it looks like the animal. Look at it.
Yeah, he puts his hand out and
like
he goes,
the bull.
do you not see the animal? And he was like, oh yeah. And then the brother's like, oh yeah. It's such a good scene because it feels like two groups of characters from different movies fell into one movie together and are interacting. And it's just like, I don't know anything about your universe. Tell me what this is.
I loved that whole conversation. That whole thing was incredible.
Yes.
But then, so at this dinner, we also meet their other roommate or house guest or whatever.
Their other friend, Agnes, because I believe they're just a bunch of friends. Two are siblings and the other two are friends who are out on holiday. And then Agnes walks out, played by Adele. Not even going to attempt to... I don't have her name in front of me.
You did a good job the first time.
Just edit that name that I did the first time here now.
Copy paste
it. Right here.
Yeah.
Adele Exarchopoulos. Editing mark. But so she shows up and presents dinner. She says this lovely dinner of like a port wine sauce, and it was like leeks and other stuff. And then, but she's saying all this at a shouting volume, with no vocal change in emotion. This is the kind of the thing I want to pinpoint about this performance that I love so much.
Yes, I'd love to.
Is it's revealed that her character can't control the volume of her voice because of a skiing accident where she hit her head, and now she can't control the volume of her voice. Which they make a point of saying at dinner. They're like, she's not mad at you. Like, the two of them are like, why are you shouting? And she's like, I'm not shouting.
Like, don't yell at me.
She does an incredible job in this movie of shouting at a loud volume without it ever being emotive.
Yes.
Because it is presented as this character who had this horrible injury that did cause some type of brain damage, where then she is locked in this, which is a bummer. But I don't think it's presented as a bag on a person who has a disability or anything, or an injury like that. I think it's presented comedy-wise as these two guys who are not supposed to be here have then entered into a situation that they were not prepared for as well, where this one woman, who then is revealed to be a little bit out there, is just shouting at them, which is a very funny gag, where you have these two guys who've been lying this entire time, and then they have the character who starts screaming at them, and it puts them immediately on edge, and then the rest of the movie is like the tension between the three of them is so funny for the rest of the movie.
Quentin Dupieux had a note on her character. What he said was that he built the two guys, but didn't feel like that was enough because you can't tell a story with just two lunatics, is what he said. So he said he wanted to find something crazier that made them seem almost normal. And so he's like, this is what happens in the movie, is that you get used to them, and then when she arrives, she breaks everything, and suddenly they look sweet. And he's like, and this is funny, I think.
Yeah, I mean, it is.
It is funny.
It is funny because it becomes kind of a Frank Grimes in The Simpsons situation, where she doesn't trust them. She thinks they're shady and doesn't know why Cecile has invited them over. There's then moments in this movie where she is playing something more hysterical. She's being more hysterical or more upset or more scared.
Her performance couldn't be more incredible. Like, to me, I think she did such a good job. And with the voice, too. Have you seen Kajillionaire?
Not yet.
Okay, so we just did an ep on Kajillionaire. In that episode, we talked about Evan Rachel Wood's character is doing a voice in the film Kajillionaire, and she does like a low voice, but it kind of like doesn't fit in the movie. They have like the opposite thing about then Quentin Dupieux's film, where how I talked about people are weird but they seem normal in his world. In Kajillionaire, people are weird and they seem weird, and then it kind of disconnects you from the movie. And that voice really stuck out in Kajillionaire. She's just doing a weird voice, and you're like, what is going on? And it just like sticks out so bad. And so I thought that this movie then was a great example of someone doing a weird voice that seems like it fits in the world still. So I just wanted to make that note because I thought that was really interesting to watch these two movies so close to each other, where there's one character doing an insane voice.
Yes.
But in one movie it's done really poorly, and in one movie it's done really well. And I think this is done really well, and her performance is just incredible throughout.
And the control she has over her voice, and then control she has over her face, where you can pull what emotions that character is going through, even though she's delivering dialogue at a screaming monotone level.
Yes. You can tell when she's chill. You can tell when she is getting like amped up.
Yes.
You can tell everything. Like, yeah, it's incredible. She rules.
There's a line that she delivers that I love so much, is when Manu goes to go to bed in the bedroom that he was offered. She's sitting in the bed and she looks at him and says, "You don't think I know you were flirting with me, making eyes at me all night," or something like that, but it's at a shouting level. So it's like definitely meant to be kind of something that would be said at a whisper, just scream through the entire house, is very funny to me.
Absolutely, and just like ramps up the tension too. So she just like, she is on these guys' case, like from the get-go. Like first at dinner, she accuses them of having bad manners. And then, there's the scene where she accuses the guy of trying to hit on her when he's just doing what he should be doing and being normal, and she's being weird. Then the next morning, she tries to break into the bedroom where they're hiding the fly.
Yes.
Because these people do not know about the fly. She has fly shit in her pocket,
This
too.
is where the character gets even. This is where the character goes from being like a possible person to as just as crazy as the other two.
Yes.
Which is I love, where her ways of proving that they have something going on is she pulls a bunch of fly shit out of the backseat of their car and holds it in her pockets and like shows it to him.
"Oh yeah, what's this?
What's this?"
Yeah.
And shows that she has a bunch of shit in her hand. And he's like, "What are you doing?" Which then Jean says, he goes, "Oh, we have a dog." Which then he tells Manu, who then goes and finds a neighbor's dog to bring into the house.
Steals the
dog so they don't get caught with having a giant fly.
Yes.
During breakfast, where Agnes approaches all of her friends and also holds out the giant handful of giant fly shit that she pulled out of the back seat and is showing it to them. They're like, "What are you doing?"
Yeah. She's trying to tattle on the guys for having a dog that they're not supposed to have in the house. And she's trying to get them kicked out. She just, like, has a thing against them for whatever reason.
Yeah.
But the friends are like, "You're being weird. Like, calm down." And that just obviously, like, pisses her off more. So when they're all at the pool, she breaks into their bedroom and then sees the fly. And there's, like, 40 seconds of her just, like, staring blankly.
The blankest, funniest stare I think I've seen in a movie in a long time. Where she just...
Incredible. Yes.
It's so well paced and well timed, and she's just dead on staring at this giant fly. Which the thing I wanted to hit on about the two leads is right before this scene is the two of them are grown men who are probably in their late 30s, and the scene of them in the pool with...
We'll say early 40s.
Well, early 40s. They're a little older. But the scene of them in the pool with the pool toys, having a pool toy fight and making waves, is such a specific type of guy that exists, where it's like, you go to a pool party with friends, and there's just like one or two dudes there that have this kind of weird energy where they're just like, "Yeah, man, we're just having fun and living life. Like, I kind of don't care what anyone...
They're free.
They're free.
Like,
they don't care what anyone thinks of me. They
yeah.
don't have any idea, like, any expectations of, like, what's cool.
They're beach bum.
They're very beach bum energy, and it's just, like, the weird adolescent adult manners of, like, having a... like, making a wave pool at, like, someone's really nice house is very funny to me. It's like...
And everyone else is, like, tanning.
Everyone else is
like,
tanning.
on the side of the pool.
It's the same thing as, like, a guy, like, at a party who's, like, trying to get people to play Flip Cup. Like, it's that exact thing. It's like, no, we're all kind of just hanging out and talking, and then someone's like, "Garage is open for Flip flip cup. If anyone wants to play beer pong, like, I got it set up in the garage. Like, I just need, like, 3 other people. Like, if anyone wants to do. And it's like, that's that guy's favorite thing. Yeah. Is he goes to a party and he's really good at beer pong. Like, that's his favorite thing.
He doesn't know what else to do.
He doesn't know what else to do. And it's, like, the most innocent kind of dumb guy shit. I love it so much. Where it's just like, if anyone wants...
Well, we've established you love a dumb guy.
I love a dumb guy, where it's like, I love a himbo, I love a dumb criminal, I love a guy who's just like, like a dude who just shows up with like a Big Dog t-shirt.
Yeah.
Like, really rocking a Big Dog t-shirt in like 2021. Like, yes, please.
Yeah. I bought my ex-co-host a Big Dog shirt for Christmas. It's Stone Cold Steve Austin.
The limits of leniency that they gave themselves on their shirts should be illegal. I saw one that was literally just the Big Dog pointing at like someone like as the back of the shirt. It just said like, "Hey Saddam, how's it feel to be dead, you son of a bitch?" with bitch being the like dog pun, I guess. I don't know. But it's just what a weird aggressive t-shirt. Like,
oh no, it's Bone Cold Steve Austin. Sorry. And then what's the tag? Oh, open up a can of woof ass.
Nope.
Woof
you
like a dog.
You didn't need to include that.
No, I love it.
Cold
no,
Steve,
you gotta have woof
Bone
ass.
Cold Steve Austin works, and then it gets the woof ass, which
I'm obsessed.
Which sounds like a type of like 50s slang.
That's hysterical. I want a Big Dog shirt. 10 out of 10 would rock. I almost bought an Austin Powers one.
Oh, yes. Poston Powers? Is that it?
I don't remember what it said.
It's gotta be that.
There was like 2 of them and they were really good. I don't remember what they were now. Sorry.
This is interesting. The perfect encapsulation of like what I find in a weird dumb guy funny. I was working on a script last year at like the start at like early March. I was working on it. I had a line where a guy went to a gun show, like one of the dumb criminals in it goes to a gun show, and he asked for a gun that he asked if a gun has any kind of tiger striping, like he's looking for like a tiger stripe revolver is like the fanciest thing you could do. And then I had to throw that joke away because then I watched Tiger King and Joe Exotic literally had a revolver that was painted orange and black tiger stripes. I was like fuck, like
what are the odds?
Like, I can't use that joke anymore.
Hey, great minds think alike, buddy.
What I thought was like the dumbest like thing that a dumb guy finds cool is what a literal like horrible abuser and animal like monster animal like abuser as well thought was the coolest fucking thing on the face of the planet. So I guess the math works, but I was just like, that's a perfect encapsulation of like what I find funny about dumb criminal characters. So, goodness. She sees the fly.
Look at you.
Back to it. Oh, also,
she screams.
Also, the dog that Manu steals is tied up in a room with the fly. The dog is just tied up to a nightstand and left there. And then there's that great scene where the fly comes around the bed and they lock eyes with each other.
Yep.
And then you see the chihuahua. It's a very small chihuahua that you've seen it through the kaleidoscopic eyes of this fly, and then the scene where Agnes comes across the fly happens and she screams, and I forget how the fly hides again.
I don't think they show the fly hiding, but he does hide, or at least he's not found, because when everyone runs in the room to see what's going on with her, the brother finds just like the collar with a piece of meat in it.
Yes. Which like
and he goes, "What's this?" And they go, "Oh no, she ate the dog." And everyone just assumes that when they say she, they're referring to
Agnes.
this crazy woman. Yeah, to Agnes.
And not the fly.
But they were totally referring to the fly. And so that snowballs or whatever. But when they achieve that sort of switcheroo, they do a Toro behind the back as well.
The fact that they say, "Oh no, she ate the dog," in regards to the fly, and that everyone immediately thinks it's Agnes, that Agnes has finally snapped, and her means of snapping is she ate a dog. It's so fucking so weird and out of left
field. And
field.
when would she have ate it? She's not like covered in blood or anything.
She swallowed it, and it's such a weird, bizarre thing that everyone is immediately on board with. And then there is a very sad scene. So we go moving forward. The police are called, and an ambulance comes to pick Agnes up.
It's like the Looney Bin guys.
and there is a very sad scene where she is in the back of the ambulance talking to Cecile, and she's like, "It wasn't me. They have a giant fly in that room that ate the dog." And
they're like, yeah, okay.
She's on sedatives, and she's talking at a lower level, and then her friend is like,
they gave her drugs, so she's finally has like a clear mind and a normal voice. Yeah.
And she's very like lucid and saying like, "No, like I didn't eat a dog. Why would I eat a dog?
I just really need to tell you this before I go.
There's a giant fly. Tell the police and tell them to let me go." And then she's just like, "I'm so sorry, Agnes," and leaves the ambulance, and they take her away.
Yeah.
Which is like, it is kind of sad. It's like a very sweet moment between the two actors.
Yeah.
Doing great work, but then it's just like, okay, and they drive her away because they thought she ate a dog in the span of like a few minutes. And then while that's all going on, Jean sees them out front, puts the fly in the car because they gotta leave.
Well, because what happens is one of the loony bin guys was the actual guy from her high school that she thought these guys were the whole time. So they've been had.
Yeah, it's the actual Fred who shows up.
Yeah. What are the odds?
First time I watched this movie, I was like, I had forgotten about that storyline entirely because I think I was so swept up in the craziness of the fact that they framed this woman for eating a dog. Then the other actor who plays Manu is playing Fred as well, and they have him in prosthetics where he looks heavier. And I was like, why is he putting that actor in a fat suit for this scene? Like, what is... I chalked it up to just Quentin, like, you know what, let's just have fun and put this dude in a prosthetics for no reason and just have it be another weird thing that exists in this world. And then when she was like, and he was like, "It's me, Fred," I was like, oh. And then there's the amazing joke where Manu, who's early in the movie, is wearing shorts, and Cecile sees that he doesn't have a tattoo on his thigh anymore. He goes, "Oh, I got it lasered off," and she goes, "Oh, it's a shame, I thought it was cool." And almost kind of in a Raising Arizona homage is the actual Fred, like, to prove that it's him, pulls his pants down and shows his thigh tattoo that just says Fred.
Yeah.
And it's over a tattoo of the Woody Woodpecker smoking a cigar, which is what H.I. McDonough and Tex Cobb's character from Raising Arizona both have that tattoo.
Oh, really?
There's the scene where H.I. has the Woody Woodpecker with the cigar tattoo, and then I forget the character's name. I think he's like the personification of death, essentially, in Raising Arizona. He's choking him, and H.I. like pulls his sleeve, and he sees he has the same exact tattoo as him. And I feel like that must have been just a tiny weird homage to Raising Arizona, because this movie does have a lot of the same vibes and like weird character choices and performances like Raising Arizona does, because it is a bunch of idiots like surrounding each other and then like one reasonable voice in a way that exists.
A whole Coen Brothers homage.
Yeah, I mean, that on top of what you said with No Country for Old Men, I feel like there's probably a good amount of overlap, specifically with that tattoo as well. But so they get found out. John goes into the kitchen where Manu's just eating ham out of the fridge.
Eating loose ham.
Yeah. He's like, we gotta go. He's like, we gotta go. We got figured out. So they siphon a bunch of gas and get in the car, drive off, and go to the location they were supposed to go to.
The original con location.
The original con location where Michelle is waiting and gives them a briefcase, and then they take that.
They're days late at this point, too.
They get handed a briefcase, and then they take that briefcase to a third location. It's a lovely estate in south of France, where they walked into the backyard, and there's a family that's very well off is sitting in the back, and they have like a manservant or a butler there who then takes the briefcase from Jean, hands it to this older rich man who looks very well connected, looks like some type of crime boss of some kind.
A classic crime boss.
Classic, like, older. He's got sunglasses on, but it's like 6 in the evening, and he's in his full suit at dinner.
Hell yeah.
He opens the briefcase, and what is inside is a pair of grills that he then puts on at dinner, and his whole family loves it. You think this whole weird crime thing is happening that he has to deliver, and it's literally just, it ends up being, go here, pick up this briefcase that has diamond grills in it, and drive it to this nice older, not nice, but this very nice house where this older French man is waiting for them.
Yeah, and that's where the title of the movie comes from, too.
Yes.
Mandible, famously a jaw, just referring to what's in the suitcase this entire time.
Yes. It's such a dumb, funny reveal, because he puts them in on both rows, and he presents them, and he's so excited about them. Like, the actor playing that man, like, sells them so hard. He's like, like, the joy, like, this character has of finally having these things. And his whole family is super supportive.
He's feeling himself.
His two kids are like, they look really cool, Dad. And his gorgeous wife is like, they look beautiful. And it's such a funny, weird little, it's like, I've been waiting so long for my diamond grills in the year 2021. Or like,
here's $500.
Here's $500 for delivering this. And then he gets the $500. Then from there, they pretty much return to the beach where it all started with their beat up car. They're deciding on what to do. And Jean decides to finally give it a go and try and like see if Dominique has retained and any of the training he's been doing over this entire movie with like dog toys and like treats. He's showing Dominique a picture of bananas in like grocery store newspaper. He's like, do you understand? Go get this. Like, get it? And you see it all from the fly's POV, so it's like all kaleidoscopic with this man talking about pointing. He's like, got it? Okay, get it. And they untape the wings finally, and the fly immediately takes off.
Like, he's like mid-sentence trying to like give her a pep talk, but he's mid-sentence. And it just looks like a fly flying up into the sky.
It's an amazing shot of they look up and you just see this giant fly just vanish into the air, and they're like, and they get in their car, they're like, well, that's done. And they get in the car and they're talking about getting food, and they have like €8.51 in their pocket.
I love this scene, and like the dialogue that happens between them right here is just... I love this so much. Where
they're just like, I mean, he's like, you know what? Our friendship is the best thing we've got. Like,
they say true wealth is friendship. Why are we busting our balls trying to get rich, basically?
Yes.
And he's like, oh, you know, me and my projects. Like, I got caught up trying to train this fly. And then the other guy's like, oh, I get grandiose because I'm with my buddy. Like, basically, we're just like such good friends. We get really hyped and like get stuck in this one little thing. And like, why are we trying to get rich?
You know me, I get caught up with my projects is such a good line when he's talking about training a giant fly to rob banks. And it ends on an incredible note where they're sitting in the car and they're getting ready to leave, and then it ends with Dominique the fly landing back on the hood of their car with a bunch of bananas in its mouth.
Right when they have decided to give up on the fly. They're like, the fly's probably not coming back.
They're like, that's
we don't need to be rich anyway. Like, let's just like go get some food or like whatever. You know, they've totally just about given up on their initial plan. And at that very moment, she lands back with the bananas. They do a look to camera, and then there's like some scheming music when we roll creds.
The music that leads in and exits
I love the music.
Ends the movie is very relaxing.
It was the perfect vibe for the movie.
It puts you at ease at the very beginning of the movie, because I went in not knowing what it was going to when I first watched it, and it really does put you at ease, because then it opens on a shot of this beautiful beach, and there's just a guy sleeping under a blanket on the beach
in a sleeping bag being covered by the waves.
Yes. And it's an hour and 17 minutes.
I love Quentin Dupieux's films are always like under 80 minutes, but cram fucking packed with like so much wildness. It's a beautiful thing.
It does, yeah.
You always have time for one of his movies.
They never feel bloated. They never feel like they're running over time. I mean, like, that is just really brilliant screenwriting, because it's looking at a concept like this or something like deerskin or something like rubber, and it's just like, this can't sustain itself for an hour 40. Are you kidding? Like, how many people can I have Jean Dujardin like kill with a weird fan axe that he made, like, and take jackets from? Like, like, this can't sustain itself. And it's like a brilliant, from a directing and screenwriting perspective, it's very brilliant to know that you can craft an engaging, fun, and weird feature film that doesn't need to rely on the specific, like, because I feel like a lot of American movies have kind of been like feature films at most have to be an hour 30 and change.
I did want to say, speaking of comedies and funny people, and this will bring us back a little bit, I often put out, when I remember, calls for questions or comments or whatever for the episodes before we record. I put them on Instagram. And we did get one comment from one of LA's top Hellraisers / funny guys, not to dox him in a anonymous comment leaving thing, but Alex Kavutsky.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Who said, quote, I like when the fly brings back bananas. So,
I mean, Alex, you're right. Brilliant. Speaking of brilliant filmmakers, Alex.
Oh my God.
Fantastic. Very interesting. Just beautiful, sad. He covers a lot. Alex does some really, really interesting stuff. I love watching whatever he comes up with.
He's incredible.
Yeah.
Number one fan here. I've seen probably just about everything he's ever made, including everything he's put on Channel 101, almost.
Seeing his evolution from Channel 101 to what he's doing now has been
And he's
super
still
interesting.
doing 101 videos.
Yes.
Yeah.
Which I've always attended and been a fan. I've never put anything into Channel 101 because I recognize my like strengths and weaknesses as a filmmaker, and I'm not the best writer. And so my brain has never been tapped into...
You could probably find a writer to collab with.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Well,
there's such a community. Yeah. And there's just no shortage of like really fun, interesting sort of series through Channel 101. Yeah.
Check them out. If you're in Los Angeles, or if not, even if you're online and you're not in LA area, go check it out. There's probably something on there that'll really
They
do
have
it
a
for you.
website, channel101.com, and they also do stream the showings on Twitch.
Yes.
So that's how I watch
Yeah.
personally, because I'm not an LA guy. So how did we get here again?
I have no idea.
Oh, we were talking about Kavutsky. Shout out to Kavutsky. Check out his
stuff.
We haven't even closed out the movie yet.
And then...
We have rolled the creds, though,
Yes.
so what we can do is rate this movie out of 5. So what do you think?
I mean, I don't know. I rewatched it, and it's still as funny as... Like there are laugh out loud moments for me. I would give it like a 4, maybe even a 4.5. Like it's a very funny movie. I don't know how it can be more. It's the runtime is great. It's very economic with its premise. It's got great performances. It looks great. Yeah, I don't know. I'm always very hesitant to give things a perfect rating. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know why.
Well, I think to me, I try and think of what do I consider a perfect rating and how does that movie make me feel? So like when I'm giving things a perfect rating, because I'm saying like it's very rare for me, but things that I give a perfect rating give me butterflies in my tummy, like just watching how cool they are, or like make my juices flow. Like I'm so excited to watch whatever's happening because it's just the coolest thing I've ever seen.
Yeah, there's very few. I like RoboCop is up there as like a perfect film. Like in my opinion, it is a perfect film. Even with the weird stop motion, extra long armed Ronnie Cox that falls out of the window at the end. I don't know. It's a weird mixed bag for me what I think is a perfect movie, and it's like I mean, this is a very good. It's very, very funny. It's so funny. It's very good, and it's definitely a relaxing movie. It's definitely like a good afternoon movie where you just throw it on, and it's very funny and weird, and
probably one of the more rewatchable of his movies too. I think.
Yeah. Deerskin is fun, but it's also gets real dark, and it's. I would say of all of his movies, which I mean I haven't seen the Eyes one.
Keep an eye
out. I haven't watched that yet. But this is probably this is his most, I would say, casual fit. If I was to introduce someone to Dupieux movies, I would probably start with this.
Yeah, this is a great entry point to his weirdness.
Because it's like, okay, you're into this. Okay, now let's go to Rubber and like see if this is a totally different thing. It's weird. I feel like this is very much like an introductory.
He has some real deep, like weird anti-film stuff too. Yeah. Like in his earlier, like non-film and non-film 2 are very just like, you're like, this is prestige cinema, but like it kind of is. Yep. I'm not. It's like it is just like a dude fumbling around a camera and like bumping into people with it, but like intentional. Like there's like one part where the camera is just being literally dragged alongside a building, like it's scraping the building, and it's not looking at anybody who's talking. And like this is cinema. It's a real gorgeous. Yeah, he's got a real. He does have a good on ramp for the rest of his stuff now. Like that's. I feel like that's I think I put this movie because I did, since I just watched the whole filmography, I did make a ranked list of Quentin Dupieux films, and I put this third actually.
Oh really? What's your number one?
Number 1 was Wrong.
Okay,
I just love Wrong so much. And then number 2 was Keep an Eye Out. So you haven't seen.
No, I have not.
But yeah, 3 was Mandibules. So
good movie.
Anyway, that's where I'm at. Yeah, I give this movie 4 stars personally.
Yeah, 4.5. I have to give the rest of his stuff that I'm blind on. I have to go through and watch down.
Give it a watch. Tell me what you think. So I think safe to say we would recommend.
Oh, absolutely. I hope it hops on streaming somewhere sometime soon. So
it just came out, so I'm gonna imagine that it'll be like maybe a couple months before it's like free. He also did say that if this movie gets 500,000 views or whatever, that he already has plans to make a sequel called Tentacles.
Beautiful.
So
do it.
There's that. So watch the film.
Go watch it.
Etc.
500. That's not 500,000 views. That's nothing.
I agree. So we can make this happen. Now it's time for ScreenVomit. In this part of the pod, we just go off about whatever else we've been watching, movies, shows, whatever. So what have you been watching?
What have I watched recently? I watched Beats the other...
What is that?
It is a Scottish movie from 2019 directed by, what's the guy's name?
Brian Welsh.
Brian Welsh, yes. Apparently this is a real thing that happened in 1994 in Scotland. They were passing a bill that was like essentially like outlawing raves and like general like large assemblies. And so it's kind of... It's all in black and white. It's about these two kids. One who is definitely like from a terrible home life, kind of low-key scumbag kind of kid, degenerate, and this other guy who then they're graduating high school. This other kid who's going away to college, and his parents don't like his friend, and it's about the people that they're surrounded by on this last night before Scotland brought down this like bill that they passed. Because it was like the last time that was allowed for a long time, I think, in Scotland. I'm not exactly sure on the politics of it all. But it's just this view of these two friends, these two high school friends, kind of realizing they're having their last real summer together because one is going away and then one is going to be stuck there. And so they're just kind of living in this... It all takes place, of course, of the day, essentially, and they're just living in this dream bubble that they have where they're going to this giant rave and experiencing music. And it's beautifully shot. It's all black and white. It's beautifully shot. The music is great. The emotion is there. It's very good. It's a very heartwarming kind of... It's sweet and also sad, but you have hope at the end of it. Like,
and you loved it?
I loved it. It was really good. I watched that. I watched Brewster's Millions for the first time.
I don't know what that is either.
That is a 1980s comedy starring Richard Pryor and John Candy, where Richard Pryor is a...
Oh, the guy from Seventh Heaven's in it, too?
Yes, he's in it, too. It's also directed by Walter Hill, who has the wildest...
Warriors?
Who?
He did Warriors?
He did Warriors. He did Streets of Fire. He did Driver. Incredible director. Still, I think he's working on a new movie now. Incredible director. Might be one of my favorites. But the movie, the premise is Richard Pryor shows up at this like really nice like high-rise in New York, and he's like met by like three old stuffy white men, and then there's a film that plays on the screen in front of him, and it's like, I'm your great uncle. You didn't know your great uncle was a honky? It was like this old white guy who's talking to him, and he was like, well, there's a lot of family tree math to do, but you're my last living relative. And he's talking about like the value of money, and like the whole plot is, he goes, you have 30 days to spend $30 million of my money, and if you do it with having no assets left, like you don't have anything left over, you can't own property, suits, like businesses, anything like that. Like you can't own any of it. He's like, I will give you $300 million if you do that successfully.
Wow.
So it's just a movie of Richard Pryor, who also legally can't tell everyone around him why he's spending money like this, because that's part of the clause, is he can't tell anyone. And it's just it's a fun, weird Richard Pryor comedy, and it really made me sad that we didn't get like a dozen movies with John Candy and Richard Pryor together.
Yeah.
I love John Candy. I think he was one of the most empathetic actors of our time. Like, I find him so soothing and comforting when he's on screen. And it's a bummer that Richard Pryor and him didn't get to do a bunch of movies like Pryor and Wilder did. But also, and speaking of tight, confined movies, I rewatched Phone Booth for the first time.
Interesting. And how'd that go?
Real well. Held up really well.
Yeah?
I love Colin Farrell. I'm so happy that he's eased into being a weird character actor now. That he doesn't have to have the pressure of being this kind of heartthrob that he had like forced upon him when he was like coming around. Because yes, he's hot as fuck.
Yeah.
Like, he's one of the hottest people on the planet. But
he's a hot weirdo.
He's a hot,
so like his hotness is kind of like a burden to him.
Yeah, and so like when he does stuff where he like shows up in like Killing of a Sacred Deer, like, but when he gets to do stuff like that, I mean, like, I'm excited to see the Batman movie that's coming out simply because he's playing the Penguin, and they have him in like wild prosthetics that you do not recognize him. I'm like, give me, if you haven't seen that yet.
No, I haven't.
Oh, Google Colin Farrell Penguin real quick, and you're going to be like, whoa, because he popped up in the trailer, and I did not recognize him. So I saw it, I was like, man, I'm so curious to see what he's going to do now when he's just like wearing makeup and being fucking weird and playing the Penguin. Oh, one movie, I mean, I watched this months ago. I watched Four Weddings and a Funeral. I watched for the first time in my life.
Yeah.
I love it.
I think I saw that like when I was a kid. I don't remember like anything about it.
I've never seen. I went in completely blind. I assumed that there were 4 weddings and 1 funeral. I was right.
Yeah.
Beautiful movie. Aside from the way Andy McDowell's character is written and portrayed in the film.
Women famously.
Which, like,
in the 90s.
Which Kristen,
written incredibly.
Kristen Scott Thomas's character in the movie has a great arc. She's fantastic in it. But probably the most genuine feeling friend group I've seen on screen in a long time. Like, because they keep going to all these different weddings with each other and they're hanging out and they're friends. And it's like, this feels so real and so organic, and like you feel for them. And it's just like, yeah, that is how my friend group behaves. Like, if we go to someplace together, if we're all at a wedding together, or we're at like dinner together or something, like, it feels natural. And I don't know, I mean, Mike Newell directed it, who's a very British comedy director. Yeah, Four Weddings and a Funeral is like my weird like sleeper favorite pick of like things I watched for the first time of this year.
Yeah.
Big fan.
Hell yeah.
And then Collateral, I rewatched. It's really boring, but I fucking love Michael Mann. It's a really boring answer to who one of my favorite directors
What else does he do?
Michael Mann. He did Manhunter, he did Thief, he did Heat, which I'm excited to see. I got tickets to go see it in a theater on 35 at the end of August.
Nice.
Yeah, Collateral is the most recent thing I watched of his, which is Tom Cruise playing a villain, like a very genuinely scary character. I don't know what that says about Tom Cruise as a person, but
well,
there's a lot to interpret there, and a lot.
Yeah.
Where is Shelley, Tom?
Oh gosh.
There's a lot to interpret, but his work in Collateral, playing a hitman, is very good.
Is interesting.
There's some interesting choices, and like the commentary is like Michael Mann is like, yeah, Tom trained for 3 months on how to shoot a gun at this proper way. It's like, of course he did, the fucking psycho. Like,
yeah. I don't know. That's a whole thing we could get into.
We could get into all that, but yeah, that's if I had to give any recommendations of the past stuff I watched recently, Beats, super fun. Phone Booth holds up, and then. If you've never seen Four Weddings and a Funeral, watch Four Weddings and a Funeral. It's heartwarming and emotional and beautiful, and I loved it more than I was expecting I would.
All right.
Yeah, that's
hell yeah.
A very mixed bag.
Well, I've got a weirder bag for mine.
Go on.
I picked some unhinged stuff this week. So I mentioned that I watched through Quentin Dupieux's filmography recently. So Quentin Dupieux has a movie called Reality. And when I was searching for Quentin Dupieux's movie Reality, I accidentally found a different movie called Reality and watched it for a long time before realizing that it wasn't his.
Was it also in French?
No. Oh. Well, I don't think Reality is in French, though. I think it's one of his English movies.
Okay.
Anyway, but so I generally, when I'm going to watch a movie, I try and know nothing about it if possible.
Yeah.
Like I don't read a synopsis, I don't watch a trailer. I try and know nothing going in if I can. So I didn't know like what the movie was supposed to be about or anything. I just knew it was directed by Quentin Dupieux and it was a movie I hadn't seen. So like I didn't know what the movie was supposed to be. So then when it was not that movie, I didn't know that it wasn't what I was supposed to be watching. So I got a little bit into this movie. So the one that I found it's by just like an indie filmmaker in Chicago called Dustin Puehler. And it is fucking so unhinged that I got like 30 minutes in and I was like, I have to see what people, one thing I might do is like look up Letterboxd reviews just because they're not real reviews. So
yes.
Like they're normally just one person being like, wow, Dustin Hoffman's shoes. Okay, go off or something like that.
That's
it can just it can just be like something so stupid. And then in that way, it also doesn't spoil the movie, but you might find out something.
I'm sure I have reviews on Letterboxd that are exactly the same as that.
Yeah, so like they're stupid. I love Letterboxd though, obsessed with the thing. Anyway, so I go on to just look at the reviews. I still didn't read a synopsis. I just went on to look at the reviews to see. I was like, I gotta know what people are thinking about this movie, and none of the reviews were lining up with like anything that I was watching. And I was like, okay, something's gone wrong here. And then realized I had been watching this like deep independent movie. It's not even on Letterboxd. It's so indie
Jeez.
that I like rented it too. review off of Amazon. So what this movie is, I think, is so fascinating. The concept is that there was like a failing TV station. They found a bunch of videotapes in a dumpster, and the videotapes were of a man, a serial killer, like had kidnapped a bunch of women and like videotaped all of it and like murdered them and whatever. But this video station this TV station really needed content, so they edited it together and put it out to try and save their channel or whatever. We don't see anything with the TV station, but this is just kind of the concept. So when they edited it together, they edited it in a way that it reads as like The Bachelor. So like it's like this man kidnapped like 15 women and is keeping them all in his basement, but they have like The Bachelor style music over it, just that like light guitar, like and then like they do the on-screen little swipes with like the name and like something about them or whatever, like how they do on those kind of shows. I've never seen The Bachelor, but just that type of show.
Yes.
And they do
as someone who watches The Bachelor, yes.
Okay, so you understand.
Yeah.
And they do like an elimination, and it's just for him to find like a woman to be with or whatever. But when the women get eliminated, they are like murdered. But it's like the tone of it is so fucking unhinged. I think it was actually kind of really good. But it's like the most low quality, like DIY, like somebody shot this on like a handheld camcorder, like in the basement type thing. Like, but I'm kind of obsessed. So that was called Reality. But I think I recommend it. It's just so fucking weird. And I think I'm really into it. Okay, so Reality. Secondly, I watched The Fly for the first time. Can you believe?
The Cronenberg?
Yeah. I did a fly-themed day. So the first time I watched Mandibules, and then I later watched The Fly on the same day.
Beautiful.
So I gotta say, I now get why everybody loves Cronenberg. Because I famously have been like, not a Crone hater, but just not a real Crony head.
Have you gone into Crash yet?
No, I haven't. I haven't seen Crash. I haven't seen Scanners. I think those are like the two big ones that I haven't seen, but I have seen Videodrome, History of Violence, Maps to the Stars, and Cosmopolis, and two of his shorts. So like I've seen a fair amount of his stuff, but I always think like it's like fine or like pretty good or whatever, but not to the extent that matches up with like the hype he has, I guess. But anyway, when I watched The Fly, I kind of got it because The Fly was actually really sick. And what were you gonna say?
I fall kind of in the same arena as you, where it's like I'm not the biggest Cronenberg person.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's because I'm not the biggest body horror person. Not a huge fan of it, but Crash absolutely rules.
You love Crash.
I love Crash. Crash is great. I
do want to see it. It is on my list.
It's horny as fuck.
Okay.
Can highly recommend Crash. Can highly recommend The Brood.
So yeah, The Fly.
The Fly.
Was
great movie.
Good. Really good. And I'm glad I finally watched it. I kept being dragged for never having seen The Fly. So I did it, and I feel good about it. All right, next I'm going to do a short film, Place, by Jason Gudatz, who's also a Channel 101 guy. He had a really cool series on 101 called Somewhere in Highland Park.
Oh, yeah.
You've ever seen?
I've played Among Us with Jason many a times over the last year.
Yeah?
Yeah. The Place was that Slam Dance, or where was it at?
It was at Sundance.
It was at Sundance, that's right, yeah.
Yeah, probably other places too, but I know he made a goof poster where they put Sundance like in big letters right in the middle of the poster as a gag, but actually it kind of came out kind of sick, so they kept it. And yeah, Place was sick. I loved it. Okay, what else did I watch? Oh, I watched Leave No Trace, which was recommended in my last episode to me by Nigel DeFries, which has Ben Foster.
Yes.
Are you familiar with this movie?
Yes. I have not seen it. I'm aware of it, and it's Ben Foster and Thomasin McKenzie, I believe. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, I really liked it. It's just like sort of homeless, off the grid dad and daughter who keep trying to be forced to be assimilated into normal society, and that's not what they want, sort of movie. But it was really good. It was emotional. Good flick. Yeah. Lastly, that I'm going to mention today is last night I watched SLC Punk 2, Punk's Dead.
I did not. I did not know that even existed, and I'm kind of upset that I do now.
I just found out it existed like not that long ago when I was looking through Devon Sawa's filmography.
This is like when I found out that there is like a sequel to show. There's a sequel to Showgirls.
What? I didn't know that.
Oh,
so
and
now we both ruined each other's lives.
Oh, and it's bad.
Yeah, SLC Punk 2, I think I can't imagine how a movie could be worse.
It came out in 2016?
Yeah. And who's in it?
Machine Gun Kelly's in it.
Yes, Machine Gun Kelly is who I was thinking. And if you've seen the movie Pride, which we've done on Pod, the main guy from the movie Pride is also in it. He plays Heroin Bob's son. So I think even if you just watch like the first 30 seconds, you'll have a great idea for what the tone of the whole movie is.
Oh, boy.
The dialogue and like literally every single plot point of the movie, it's all just like the most unhinged shit you've ever heard. Like, it doesn't make sense. People don't talk like this. Like, it's all fucked up. They use the F slur like 30 times, which is like way too many for a 2016 film.
Is it like kind of like The Canyons, where it's like the Paul Schrader movie that based off the Bret Easton Ellis novel that had Lindsay Lohan and James Dean, where it's just like no one behaves like a human being at all?
Absolutely like that. The costuming is even unhinged. Like,
okay, oh boy.
So the whole story is they literally start with one of these like freeze frame record scratch. I bet you're wondering who this is.
No.
Like, they literally start with that. The first like half of the movie is narrated by Heroin Bob, who's like talking from beyond the grave in like a blue room, who's like catching everyone up on what's been going on. The movie centers around his son, who like I guess his girlfriend was pregnant when he died or whatever.
I am looking at screenshots from this movie. What the fuck am I looking at?
Are you seeing the costuming? Like, his son has like the worst wig you've ever seen, like a long brown hair wig, wearing like Shakespearean clothes.
He looks like I don't know what this. It looks the shot I'm looking at looks like a shot from the scene in Sweeney Todd when they go to the beach. The two people in this shot are uncomfortably pale to the point that it's definitely makeup, and she's carrying a white parasol. This looks like a vampire movie. This looks like a bad vampire movie. It's really
fucked up. None of it makes any sense. Everything they say is like, what are you even saying? Let me describe a scene to you. First of all, his character is like, he's so straight edge, he didn't even know you have to be 21 to drink.
Jesus Christ.
He's like, never, okay? And then, so there's a scene where the son and his two friends are like driving along the highway. They pick up a hitchhiker who's on the side of the road. It's like a sort of Rastafarian character with a duffel bag full of mushrooms. Like shrooms. The two friends are talking to this guy with shrooms who just has a huge duffel bag. Inside of it is just a wide open Ziploc bag, huge Ziploc bag, like gallon size of shrooms on the side of the road. First of all, they touch his hair. They're white, he's black. They touch his hair and ask, how did you grow this? They smell his hair. Then the like straight edge son walks by and goes, oh, great, you brought food. I'm hungry. Grabs a big handful of these mushrooms out of this weird guy on the side of the highway's duffel bag that just happens to have a Ziploc bag straight up open in it chock full of shrooms, grabs a handful, shoves them in his mouth, and just eats them all. None of that makes sense.
This was definitely not. This script was definitely not originally an SLC Punk script. This is something.
The movie was apparently crowdfunded, so like I don't know if that has something to do with it.
I hope they got all their money back. I haven't even seen this, but the fact that Machine Gun Kelly and whoever this actress is that is sitting on this hood of a car with him are so drastically different from the lead character in this movie. Looks and dresses like Stuart Townsend in League of Extraordinary Gentlemen. But it looks like he was like sitting in like soaked in a river for a minute. like a week went by and they pulled him out. They're like, you got to act in this movie now. Here's an ascot and a weird like vampire blazer. Like, go wear this and be around Machine Gun Kelly.
It's literally unhinged.
He has a cane. I'm looking at a shot of him where he has a cane like he's Lucius Malfoy, and there's probably a sword in it. and he's wearing a vest and puffy sleeves like a real fucking Joe Wright Pride and Prejudice looking motherfucker.
And their whole thing is they're going to a punk concert. They say the word concert like 30 times. Like, we're going to a punk concert. Like, what are you talking about? And he, like, stops screeching weasel or whatever in the middle of their set.
Dear God.
And, like, gets on stage and is like, I just want to let you know, punks kind of suck, but, like, I'm having a good time or whatever.
What?
And then all the punks beat his ass.
It's an hour and 16 minutes, so...
Yeah, and I did watch the whole thing, and I the entire time was like, what the fuck is going on?
Don't.
Insane.
If you're listening to this and you're contemplating watching it, I haven't seen it, but I'm just going to say don't watch it. Just based on the images I just looked up, and it is upsetting. I will highly recommend, if you want something that has like a punk feel to it, Dinner in America is a fun movie.
So, what do you have to plug? Where can people find you, etc.?
By the time this comes out, I'll probably just release the new music video that I directed. Mm-hmm. So that'll be floating around. You can just follow me. I'm at ATOM_Murray, MURAY, on both Twitter and Instagram. Usually there's something new I'm working on. It's usually, you can usually find it via Twitter or Instagram. I'll be posting about it.
You also have a website.
I have a website too that I need to update. But I do have that.
All your vids
all my shorts are on there. Gabby will probably be going online more towards the end of the year. Just because we're waiting on some festival stuff and then trying to line it up with Short of the Week release.
Nice.
Towards the end of the year, so that'll be happening. Currently finishing up a music video, trying to work on a couple more, and then in the early stages of working on a feature version of Gabby. So that's where that's at. So that'll hopefully be coming down the line in a couple of years.
Hell yeah, that rocks.
So that's
that's sick. All right, that's all your plugs.
Yeah, don't have much.
Well, you have a bit. There's some content to sift through.
Yeah.
Okay, and then for me, you can find the show on Instagram and everywhere else at ScreenVomit. One word on all the things. You can email me at screenvomitpod@gmail.com with your thoughts on this movie or other movies, or suggest a movie. I don't know what we're watching next, but you can follow on Instagram. I always post it on there. And that's all my plugs. So thanks, Adam, for joining me.
Thank you for having me.
Hell yeah.
Thank you for watching my stuff. I know I get nervous and scared when I see that people are watching something that I made, but I genuinely do appreciate it. It's just seeing people watching it is always a weird, surreal experience. So thank you.
Well, you did the hard part, so all I've done is watch TV, and you're welcome for that.
Thank you.
So, and I had a great time doing it. So, and yeah, I'm happy you could come on the pod.
Thank you again. Thank you for having me. I had a great time.
Hell yeah. All right. So bye, everybody.
Bye. I love Dumb Guy.